Welcome to the Scythian Dragon Lord's Education channel. This video is going to be the continuation of the Magyar Turul Dynasty family tree. We're going to start off with a little bit of background on the Magyars. The Magyar Ősház, which is the old headquarters, is the Carpathian Basin. That is the origin of the Magyars. That's from the old European culture. The old European culture actually turned into the Scythian culture, which around the early Iron Age became known as the Iron Age Scythians, also known as the pre-Mesocrat culture. This culture is the continuation of the Magyars. The Magyar predates the Scythian culture. The Scythian is just a name that we acquired from the Greeks that is basically means the horse riding, bow shooting people is the definition of a Scytha. In Hungarian we say Scytha, Scythian, Scytha, all different variations. This culture moved from the Carpathian Basin over to the Black Sea area, and also down over to Kazakhstan area, where they became known as the Saka. Saka is just another name for Eastern Scythian people. You can see the round, tall, pointed hats. Those are the Royal Scythian class. They usually have anywhere from 1 to 5, 6 feathers on there. Those feathers represent how many tribes are under them. The Scythian Magyar Hun culture is the continuation of the neo-pagan culture that was found in the Carpathian Basin all the way to the Tarim Basin. This neo-pagan culture is also a nature-loving pagan culture, meaning they're villagers and country dwellers. None of the New Age definitions of a pagan really fit this. This is a different culture. It was a culture of peace, and many of the Huns, Scythians, down to us Magyars, all follow these cultures. Now, the family tree that starts from King Menroth, aka King Nimrod the Great, that he was a Sumerian, or maybe even later, down to the Akkad period, Akkadian time frames, kings that was part of the Turul dynasty. He had the two sons, which were called Hanor and Magor, and that's where some of the Turul dynasty mythology comes from. Now, Hanor and Magor, the two sons of King Menroth, one represents the Huns, Hanor, the other one represents the Magyars, Magor, but they were both Magyar. It's one family, and that is part of the legend of the white stag, and the Sarvash. Those people ended up going up towards the Metois Marsh River, which is up by Ukraine area, and the family spread from there. The other family went out towards Zagros Mountains, out towards Bactria, and certain people became known as the White Huns, which is a term that is used for the South and the West. And then the Black Huns, which were Attila's people, are the same family tree. They're just a different area that they were in. Now, out of the Scythia, the Scythian kings in the Black Sea area, you had king by the name of Toman. Tauman. He had a he goes down. His family tree goes down to Mao Tone. Mao Tone is the founder of the Great Hun Empire, and his Hun Empire ranged almost all Asia, all the way to the Carpathian Basin, and from there, he his family tree that goes back to Attila goes by a son by the name of Wund, and he was around like 340 to 360, and they started heading back towards Pannonia, which was the name of the Carpathian Basin area, and the Hun that actually went back was the king of the Huns by the name of Balimbar, and Balimbar he had a son by the name of Baltazar Alip B, and he was around 378 to 412 AD. He is the one that had the four sons. The four sons were Cretan, Akhtar, Rugila, and Bengaguz. Also, Menzaguz. That is Attila's father. Attila, around like 445 to 453, he became the Scythian Hun. He was actually the 59th king of the Huns, and he was also what was referred to as the Sun King. Back in those time frames, they ran on what was called the Sun monarchy system. It's a pagan Magus religion, sun worship, but always believing in the one Isten, which is part of the Magyar culture, the Scythian culture, and the Hun culture. But going back to the Scythian culture, there were a lot more gods, goddesses. They worshipped gold. They worshipped swords. So, different types of pagans that worship different types of entities that they had at those times. Now Attila, we know about the three sons, which is Elik, the Chuba, and Irnak. Irnak is the one that went out towards the Caucasian mountains area, down around Turkey, and he is the one that you get the two different groups of the Udigars and the Kudigars, and that those two groups go down. That also goes down to Magor, and then from there, Magor goes back to Kubrat. Kubrat was around 632, 665. He was the regent of Unugaria. He had the sons, and he was they were the Magyars and the Bulgars that were around that Black Sea area. Those guys, they ended up coming back towards the Carpathian Basin, and Irnak brought his tribes, the Unugar Magyar tribes and the Bulgar tribes, the Hun Bulgar tribes, back to the Carpathian Basin, and that's how a lot of the older Bulgars got to the southern portion of the Balkans there. Now, around 700s, 800s, we had a Scythian. He was called Udyek. He was actually the Scythian Supreme Lord. He has a special it's called the Dream of Emesh. It's one of our legends in the Hungarian world, and that is where he marries the Parthian princess Emesh, and that's how the Parthian line of the Magyars and the Scythian line marry. And they had a son, and the son's name is Almosh, which means sleepy. and he was the son that was also, you know, very powerful, and he was the duke of the area that connected Ukraine area to the Caucasian Mountains and to the Carpathian Basin. He had a son. His son was Arpad. Arpad was born in Scythia. That location of Scythia that I'm talking about is Ukraine. That used to be called Etel Kuz. Etel is my nickname. That is the nickname of Attila. That area used to be called the Valley of the Kings, and that is where Arpad was born. Once Arpad found out what was happening to the Scythian kings and to our gold and to the Hun items in the Carpathian Basin, and also there was some turmoil between the Khazars. They were turning people into Judeo, and about 300 families, and the Hungarians, they were already neo-pagans. We weren't gonna switch over to Judeo anything, so they took those tribes with the 7 main tribes, and up to 38 tribes came back with Arpad to the Carpathian Basin, and Arpad settled over there in the Pilish area. That's where his area was, and also in Esztergom, Korom area, and Vizgard over there. That was all his areas that they were in, and from that point on, you know, that's where the Magyars that were already in the Carpathian Basin joined up with Arpad. But when Arpad came to the Carpathian Basin, many studies already have about 1 million to 1.5 million Hungarians, Magyars that were already living there. So the 896 story of the Magyars migrating from Etelkaz or any of those areas, those were just people coming back, the Magyars coming back to the original land due to displacement, and also coming back to save some of the the European Magyars that were already here that needed protection. And that's pretty much the story on that. And it goes all the way up to the king lines. Now, something happened around 997, and that will be in another video because that's a long story. But that is pretty much the end of the Black Huns line due to some stuff that happened with the White Huns and Istvan and Saint Stephen and the church. But we will get into that in the next video. Thank you for watching the video. You can follow us on Scythian Dragon Lords on Facebook. Have a great day.